Today I'm speaking with Nichole Dandrea-Russert, vegan registered dietitian and author of The Fiber Effect and the Vegan Athlete's Nutrition Handbook. Among many things, we discuss the crucial role of fiber in maintaining optimal health and the fascinating subject of perimenopause. So you know what? I've been meaning to ask you, when we talked before, did you tell me you did play tennis or you were playing tennis?
You asked and I said I haven't played.
Oh, you really?
I probably said I try and I'm really bad. My husband and I go out and play.
Oh, that's right.
While,
that's it. You have a racket.
We have a racket and we have a ball. That's probably in my dog's.
One ball.
Like our dog's, toy container.
Yeah, you've got to get it out of there.
You got to get it. Yes. But I know you're a big tennis player, right?
Yeah, and even more so since I last talked to you about it.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, because I think when we first met in person, I think I had just kind of started. Maybe it was like a few months in. So I was terrible, like honestly so bad. And I was super, super into it, like obsessed. And I'm still obsessed right now, but I've gotten so much better.
Amazing.
Like I'm on a team now and we play, we're about to, the last game of our season is this Thursday. And then we're going to do a different type of format for our team play this summer and then back at it in the fall.
Wow.
So, and we're honestly, we're on the lowest rating for UTA it's called, but it's fun. It is so much fun. Or actually not UTA. We're in Alta. But it's so much fun. And we've gotten so much better. So.
I mean, first you have to start somewhere with anything. Yes. And you love it.
Yes.
So
exactly.
that just inspires you to do it more. And then you keep growing.
Exactly.
And you're on a team. I feel like that's big time.
It is.
Say you're on a team.
I mean, can I say I'm a professional tennis player?
I think so.
I'm not getting paid for it, but.
Yeah.
And I'm really not great at it, but still, maybe I can say I'm professional.
You're really good.
Oh, thank you.
I bet. And you love it. I mean, you go out there and you play and you have fun and you've got a team. I mean, it sounds perfect.
It's so good,
and it's
for
good
your
exercise.
Brain. Yeah,
right?
Exercise, great for the brain. I don't know how true this is, but there's a clip from, maybe you've seen it. I think it's from the Stephen Bartlett podcast. I'm not positive, but it's a clip of this man. I don't know who he is. I don't know what his credentials are. I don't know if this is true, but he's talking about how tennis, or actually racket sports, on average add 10 years to your lifespan.
Ooh.
So I'd like to pretend, or I like to think it's true.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if you think it's true, that naturally is going to
make it true.
Lead you in that direction.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Positive thinking.
Then other things that lend to health and longevity
right.
are going to follow suit. You're going to be like, I'm playing tennis and that's going to help me live longer and I'm going to eat better because of it. I feel like it all kind of flows into
it all ties
another.
in.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that because when I was growing up, I didn't do any sports. I did do dance until I just always did that. But sports are so interesting. My first time, I'm 38 years old. I started it at 37. And it really is a great way to pull together all these other parts of your life because it's a hobby, right? And you would think a hobby is separate, something I do that's not related to anything else. But it really has. I've been much more focused on making sure I eat the right things before and after exercise, playing tennis, making sure I'm doing the right sort of exercises at home so I don't injure myself, making sure it's even deep in my yoga practice.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it's all kind of tied together.
I love that you say that because now that becomes sort of your anchor and it informs the rest of it informs the rest of your day. So you mentioned making sure you eat properly before and fueling properly after so that you can play well again the next day. When you have a sport or something like that, that kind of gives you, it's like an anchor for your day and everything else is formed around that and it's a healthy anchor. So having that one thing can just lead to so many other healthy lifestyle habits because it impacts your performance and you want to sleep well so that you play well and that you feel good while you're playing. There's just so many factors, lifestyle factors that can fall into that.
Exactly. I feel so I'm curious, when you work as a dietitian, when you work with clients and you're helping them with their diet, do you see it go the reverse? When people start to eat better and I'm assuming have more energy, do you see them start to do more I've got this energy, I'm going to pick up a new physical hobby or a sport or anything?
So the first things especially when people come to me wanting to add more plant-based foods to their plate, but they're not already eating a lot of plant-based foods. I will say there are 3 things that I see immediately. Like, you hear about the long-term benefits of eating more plant-forward or plant-based diet, reduction of heart disease and diabetes and cancer and that sort of thing. But the immediate effects, I think, are pretty phenomenal, and that's what keeps people motivated and ties into what you just said. It creates healthier habits moving forward. So the very first thing I hear people notice is they are sleeping better. Mm-hmm. They will come to me the next week. They're like, oh my God, I'm sleeping like a baby. Like, just by adding, and there's research to support this, which is so cool. Cause I'm like, oh, and there's, it's not, this is a positive effect of plant-based eating that you usually see. And there's research to support that adding more fiber rich foods to your plate can help you get sounder sleep, can help you fall asleep more quickly and help you sleep more soundly. So there's that. And then there is, of course, more energy, because fiber fills you up, and you're getting, just by adding more plants to your plate, you can just add them to what you're already eating, and you naturally start to eat less of the foods that aren't serving your best health. And that gives you more energy. And there's probably other mechanisms as well. I mean, they're getting more antioxidants, so they have less inflammation. So like, there's so many
less pain.
So you're able to move more. And that can, to your question, entice you to move more, to do something you've been wanting to do, get you up off the couch and get into an activity. And, of course, weight loss because of the fiber, again, and eating healthier can also be an effective adding more plants to your plate. And that inspires you to move more. There's so many things, or weight management, I should say, like wherever you are in your journey. The other thing is just like, people just say they feel lighter, which ties into the energy component, but they're like, I feel lighter. And it's because probably they're not eating as many heavy calories that are not like full saturated fat and salt. They're adding more plants to their plate. So they're, they're fueling their body with what their body needs to feel lighter and more energized. So those are the immediate effects. And I do think that it helps in other aspects. I mean, I mentioned the sleep. So they're sleeping better, which is going to inspire them to move more, and they're going to feel better. Naturally you would get into activities that you've been wanting to do for a long time. It's
like, it's all tied. You don't have to come at it from like, I'm going to change my whole diet. You can even approach it like, I'm going to start a physical activity, right? I'm going to start walking for people who have, totally inactive lifestyle. I'm going to start walking, and then that helps you start to feel a little bit better, but you realize, maybe I got knee pain. I'm going to start to eat more anti-inflammatory, and that might open the door to, I'm going to start eating more plants. So actually, if I love this vegan thing, I'm going to become vegan, or whatever it might be. You can kind of approach it either direction, which is what I love. Like, the journey, the path to health, it doesn't have to be like a cookie cutter thing that everybody comes at it the same perspective. You totally can enter this, this lifestyle, whether it be plant-based fully or, just like you said, plant forward. Mm-hmm. You can approach it. You can enter it from whatever's right for you.
100%. I agree with that so much. And what you mentioned, health is so multifaceted. There's so many areas it could be. You could start with eating. You can start with movement, social connection, like love, just reaching out to people and connecting with one another. That can inspire feelings of happiness and motivation and increase your serotonin, your dopamine, and that can lead you into healthier food. They really are all connected. And getting out in nature. I mean, it's Earth Day today. Yay. So, getting out in nature and just being of service in Earth. There's so many activities for Earth Day. So going out and joining like a pickup crew and cleaning up the environment, or planting some edible plants in a garden. Whatever works for you. I think it's so important for folks to start where they are and maybe pick one thing, because all of it can be overwhelming to think about all of the areas of health and wellness. But is there like one small thing you can do today? Mm-hmm. Do you want to plant one thing? Mm-hmm. Do you want to drink 2 glasses of water in the morning and just start there? And that maybe that leads to another thing. But I agree with you. I personally like to workout or exercise. My personal form of working like movement is yoga.
Yes.
In the morning, and I like to run as well. But if I don't do it in the morning, I have a really hard time getting motivated. So I have to carve out that time in the morning. And I can personally say, like, I eat so much better when I do something in the morning. I feel like I've done yoga. I naturally want to. I'm not a fruit eater. I'm like, my husband says I'm a terrible dietitian. So I'm always like, I don't want fruit. Give me chocolate.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know why. It's just always been so hard. Just one thing. I crave bitters. I don't know. Like, I'll snack on arugula, but not like a strawberry.
Well, at least it's arugula.
Right. Well, and also chocolate.
Yeah,
by practicing doing a yoga practice in the morning and just pausing for a moment and kind of like getting centered and grounded, I find that I personally make like healthier choices for breakfast. I have berries. First thing, I'm like, let me have my berries before I have anything else. So I make sure I have them.
Yep, your antioxidants.
And it's just, the one thing informs the next.
Right.
As you mentioned.
Exactly.
And I think that's so important for people to start where they are, just to do something small.
Right.
It makes a big impact.
It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about yoga. You know, I'm a yogi too.
Yes.
So that's what we had in common, because it's like, it's one of those things that we both do for sure.
Yes.
So for you, what do you think? Is it, person to person, or should we be eating before we exercise or practice yoga, or is it like a personal thing? What do you think?
That's a good question. It's so different depending on the activity. So we can start with yoga. Traditionally, yoga, we're supposed to have like empty bellies.
Right.
Because if we're focused on digestion, and we want that, because it's a spiritual practice too, and there's a lot of mental clarity that comes with yoga. So I would say not having an empty belly so much that you're starving, you're like only thinking about eating the whole time.
Right.
But being comfortably satiated, eating you're eating a big meal like 2 hours before your practice.
Yes.
Especially because you're also practicing a lot in yoga, and your diaphragm is right there, sits above your digestion,
shaking food.
So you want to be able to take like deep breaths, and if you're really full, it's going to be hard to do that. So 2 hours of heavy meal. If you want to snack, sometimes if I am going to like an afternoon, I usually practice it at home in the morning, but if I'm going to an afternoon class spontaneously, I'm like, I feel like I'm going to get hungry during this class. I might have something like an apple and peanut butter or something small that might hold me over until dinner. And that works for me. For everybody's different, and every form of training or exercise is different. So for someone who is an elite athlete, they might plan a really big, say, an ultra runner or something. They may have some pretty carb heavy meals leading up to their run. Some people can wake up in the morning and go out the door and go for a long run. Others, I know for women, for example, I see women in like the perimenopause stage, and I find a lot of times we have to eat according to like our hormones, and sometimes not eating in the morning and waiting too long can create low blood sugar and potential like mood swings that can occur during that time period. So having something light, even if it's early in the morning, like just a light breakfast, it could be something like homemade granola and plant-based milk and fruit, or something just to get in your belly before you go to the gym or go for a walk. Obviously, if you're doing a sport, if you're practicing a sport where there's like an impact, you are running, you wouldn't want a heavy meal, because your all of your blood is going to your digestive system, and you want to be able to move, and you don't want to, that can create like serious gastrointestinal issues that they don't want during cramping and having to use the restroom immediately after you run. So planning it accordingly, but it really just does vary per sport and per individual. I think like the biggest thing with anyone practicing an activity continuously, especially if you're getting into the competitive stage, like similar to what you're doing with your team, you're
like me,
like you, professional tennis player. I mean, finding what works for you, and how keeping almost like a journal, if you are getting serious into your sport, keeping a journal on what you're eating, only doing something, trying something, some kind of new food or new snack while you're training, and not during like a competition, because you don't want to do something new during then and have it not work for you. So keeping a journal to see like where you had the most energy, what helped you recover best. You can kind of get a sense of, because you forget unless and it doesn't have to be long-term journal, because I know that can become a lot. Some people like doing it, but
short term is probably going to give you enough information.
Yeah, right? It gives you some insights into what works and what helps you to fuel your body best. And it really is just so individualized for everybody.
I like that. I like that as a tip in general. Food journaling,
Yes.
So often I don't think we as humans are aware of what we're actually putting into our bodies, Like I can say, I've had a lot of water today. But unless I'm drinking out of my actual liter bottle and I can remember how many times I refilled it and completed it, I'm really just guessing. Like if I'm just drinking these, I'm just guessing. I don't really know how much water. So likewise with food, it's like if you write it down, I even tell people sometimes to just snap a photo of every meal. Because I used to do health coaching and people would be like, I just don't know like why I'm having all these problems, whatever that problem might be. I'm like, okay. I know you're busy. I know you don't want to do a journal. Just snap a quick photo of everything you ate. Like let's do it 3 days in a row. And then we're going to look at everything you ate together. And likewise, if you're drinking a glass of water, take a photo of that if you have to. If it's coffee, how many coffees did you have? You say you had one, but we have photos now. You have 3. Which is
evidence.
We need photographic evidence. And then it really helps you get clear on like, what did I actually put into my body today? Because I don't think we're really aware half the time,
We have selective memory.
Memory.
I had greens on that plate, I remember, and also 3 chocolate chip cookies that I forgot about. Whatever. It's that
and the greens would be like 1 leaf or like a little cilantro sprinkled on top. That was greens.
That garnish does not count.
That does not count as salad?
It's something, but like we need a little more, right?
Totally.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Right? I love the photo idea because when we ask folks to. Journaling can definitely feel like a big chore, and I get it. What are you going to carry a book around with you? And if you're busy, that feels like a lot. So the photographing, the photo journaling, like your food intake for the day, feels like a great, like a more accessible way to do that, especially since we all have our phones on us
all the time, and we're always snapping photos anyway.
Yeah,
you know, you can organize it in folders on your phone and the images. Just because like I understand. I think it would be really daunting to do it all like every single day. If you're maybe like a bodybuilder, if you have some sort of like really serious nutrition plans, maybe you would need to do it long term. But I could only imagine that most people can get a really good understanding if it's just like a week or like a few days, right?
Huge. I as a dietitian, I do this on myself sometimes and will advocate doing it. I don't recommend typically unless people want to track their calories. I don't get into numbers a whole lot. I'm more about like the visual, like fill your plate up with a rainbow of colors and eat until you're full, and more like intuitive, and also just when you fill up your plate with plants and a wide variety of plants, you tend to get all you need. The more you get, used to the diet, you do get all you need. But like as you're getting into a plant-based diet, sometimes it's good to track just to see. And so there's that, like when folks are just starting, I will look at their numbers and have them track what they're eating just to make sure they are getting everything that they need. And it can help to plan a really sustainable plant-based diet. But when you're just getting into it, sometimes it's, you're experimenting a little bit and you're figuring it out and you're getting your feet wet. The other thing I mentioned as a diet, like I do it myself personally, will sometimes just check myself and be like, I think I've been eating either, out a lot, or maybe I've been skipping some like food. Am I getting enough calcium, or am I getting enough, or did I have protein at every meal today? So just kind of being conscious about it, and we'll just jot everything down into Chronometer. It's free.
I've
or
heard that's
MyFitnessPal.
a great one.
Yeah, like any of those apps that were like tracks Chronometer and MyFitnessPal feel pretty accurate. Okay. So those are 2 great ones. And I know Chronometer's free. So I'll just like put it in and I'll just say, okay, yeah, like I actually for the past 2 days, I need to up my, for whatever. And it might, if it's protein, for example, I might just add a couple of tablespoons of hemp seeds.
I knew you were going to say hemp seeds. I was like, hemp seeds. So easy.
They're so easy. They're so expensive though. But they're so easy. And I mean, you can also do, if you're having beans, add a couple tablespoons of beans. Lentils. Yes.
That's my favorite. So cheap.
They're so inexpensive and they're so easy to make. So, And they're, you can make them for the week, have them in the fridge, add them to lots of different things. So salads and stir fries and all the grain bowls. Yeah. So I think it's good just to, one, look at journal and look at what you're eating when you're starting out. I mean, there might be a lot of different scenarios, but when you're starting out, and you kind of want to make sure you're getting a well-balanced plant-based diet, and then also just to kind of check yourself every once in a while and just to see, am I getting everything that I need? Exactly. And because your diet changes sometimes too. Exactly. Your preferences change, and just to make sure it's meeting everything, and working with a healthcare professional if you don't want to do it yourself, just to work with somebody who can help you work with those numbers. But long-term, it can be, I would say, you don't have to do that.
Yeah. Right. You get used to it.
Yes.
I mean, so when people come to you as a professional dietitian, what is the number one reason they're coming to you?
It varies. A lot of folks are coming, as I mentioned previously, some are coming with symptoms of perimenopause. And maybe they haven't quite figured out what it is, but it might be mood changes, or some of those common symptoms of perimenopause is, for women, weight gain around the middle, disrupted sleep, mood changes, could be hot flashes. It could be a variety of things. I mean, there's so many symptoms.
But what age is that?
I mean, it can happen as early in the 30s. It could
be in the
yeah. So a lot of women go through it, in their I'd go through it in their mid 30s. To the 40s. Some women don't go through it till their 50s. Right. Some women may not experience any symptoms. It really just varies. Knowing your history, what your mother went through can be helpful. So kind of getting an idea of what to expect, but you also don't want to I didn't ask. I'm I don't want to know. I kind of want to find out. But there are definitely some. And recently I did ask, though, because I was I'm experiencing this and that. And so I think it is helpful to know, but also you may or may not go through the same things.
Exactly.
And it's different for every woman. And there are definitely dietary things that you can do. There are yoga and breath work. There's some solid research, some really interesting research on breath work, and which can just, it does so much for cortisol, lowering cortisol, or balancing, your hormone levels, and helping with sleep, just kind of calming your mind, and getting into a deep restful state. So there are lots of lifestyle things you can do to help mitigate some of those symptoms of perimenopause.
What is just to back up just a little bit, so perimenopause is like pre-menopause, right? And is the definition of it, it's beginning of this hormonal change? What is it?
Well, menopause is when you've ceased your menses for 12 months. That's menopause. So
12 months is
for a solid 12 months, right? That's when that's defines menopause, is when you haven't had a period for 12 months. The symptoms, I mean, some of those symptoms may or may not be related. It takes a workup to determine whether or not it's perimenopause. I mean, you might not be sleeping for other reasons.
In the perimenopause, you're still having your menstrual cycle.
Yes.
Yes.
You can still have, and maybe it may become irregular. Again, it's different for every woman. It might become more frequent. It just might not be the similar pattern that you've seen prior to that. I've been consuming soy for probably, my whole life, really. Definitely more so when I went plant-based. Tofu and tempeh became my protein sources, and soy milk in the morning for, drink in the morning, my tea in the morning. And I really don't know, because I don't have anything to compare it to but myself. But this is the way. But I haven't experienced a lot. I feel like I'm thankful for this one. I think that saved me a little bit to at least delay any symptoms I may experience. And I really do think that the plant-based, and there's research to support soy.
Especially soy, right?
Yes, and mitigating hot flashes and helping you sleep. But there's, again, looking at sleep patterns, and in places that consume more soy tend to be better. So
even sleep patterns.
Yeah, so it definitely, plant-based eating or a plant-forward diet can help. At least it may help. I mean, again, it's different for everybody.
Exactly.
But it's worth trying.
Why not? And so for perimenopause, how long does that last before you get to menopause?
It's different for
totally
everybody.
Different. Yeah,
so it's just different for everyone. It could be years, it could be many years, it could be less time. So it just depends.
And like you said, some people don't feel any symptoms of perimenopause. So you would just jump to menopause perhaps?
Yeah. I mean, probably your menstrual cycle will be less frequent. So that would be a key indicator, you know it's coming. But maybe you don't experience the hot flashes and the moodiness and some of the other things. Okay.
So I remember when my mom went through menopause, she was like 53, I think, because it was a little over 10 years ago. So leading up to that, she was the hot flashes and all of this stuff. That was the peri?
Yes. And it could go into menopause.
Oh,
but it could be, if she was still menstruating, then
you're right.
Symptoms of...
It depends if she's still menstruating or not. Okay, I don't know the details, but I do remember her having hot flashes. And even now, like she was at my house the other day. I will say I was outside like all day, so I didn't have the AC on in here because I woke up and I went outside like literally all day. My mom came, let's say 4:00, and she was complaining about how hot it was in here. I was not hot at all, maybe because I was outside all day. I did look at the AC and it was like 76 degrees.
Yeah.
So I put the AC on for her, but her temperature is so often way higher than mine. And I run hot just naturally, but she's so often like, Janae, what is going on? It's so hot in here. And I'm like, I run hot and I'm comfortable. So I don't know. And I'm telling you, she went through, I think became actual menopause 10 years ago. But she still has this ups and downs with the heat.
Internal temperature, which is common. Yeah, after you go through it, and you just run a little bit warmer when you're in the menopause. You I mean, so many changes happen, so many HPA axis. There's our internal thermometer and temperature gauge. It just changes when we go through perimenopause and into menopause.
Right.
But I will say it was hot yesterday because my husband came home and said the same thing, and he's not going through it.
Really? Okay.
He's like, it's 77 degrees in here. The doors are open. Turn the air on. So
it was hot. It was humid. I think today also is super humid.
Yeah, the mugginess and the humidity. It feels like it went from reasonably it was nice spring weather, spring, doors open, to hot.
Yeah, now it's just summer.
Yeah, now it's summer, so time to turn on the
Typical
AC.
Atlanta weather, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's so interesting though, because I am a millennial. I'm 38 years old, and so I'm that age where it's starting to hear about perimenopause, and I don't know anybody, my friends are not going through it. But it's just, start to get into that. We're moving into our 40s and getting older, and start to hear about this. And just generally, for me and most of my friends, we are interested in health enough to want to take precautions too. What do I need to be doing now at 35 or 38 years old, however, in our 30s, to prepare for the future, Oh
my gosh. I love that so much that you brought that up, because one of the things that I cannot overemphasize is starting now to prepare for you're not going through it now. And I love that you and your friends are thinking ahead about what can I do to prepare my body for the future, to better handle this phase, which, our whole perspective, I feel like in the American culture, is to fear it and to want to push it away and keep it, it is scary. It's a change, and it's your body's doing things that you're not used to, right. And you're like, what's happening? But to embrace it as a time of taking action, because there are so many lifestyle things that you can do to ease your way into those changes, and to, as I mentioned, mitigate some of those symptoms that come along with it. And starting now in your 30s and 40s is a way to kind of get you into the driver's seat to help ease your way into it. And it helps to change your perspective. So if you start adapting, you already do this, but healthy eating patterns and movement, and incorporating maybe a little bit of breath work. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It could be, a couple of big sighs throughout the day, just being conscious of the breath, and just to kind of regulate your stress levels and manage your stress, getting out into nature. So adding just some simple things you can do throughout the day can help prepare you for not just changes, hormonal changes, but for any stressors.
Right.
It really kind of gets you grounded and lays the foundation for you and anything that life throws your way, be it your own internal body clock or anything else in your environment. And it's so important to, it's like never too late to start. So or early. You know,
and it totally, not just so for perimenopause and for menopause, but like if we're talking about these lifestyle changes that you're bringing up, that's just like overall health, overall longevity, like improving your chances of, you know, longevity. Another thing it just made me think of is cognitive health. So do you know the Scherzais, Dr. Dean and Aisha Scherzai? Love them too. And I love their podcast, Your Brain On. And I've in their in-person talks, I've heard them talk about, this is so crazy to me. They say that Alzheimer's begins in your like 30s and 40s. And it's not until you're in your 60s, 70s, sometimes, you know, later, you know, hopefully, that the symptoms really present themselves. But that deterioration that causes dementia and Alzheimer's starts early. And so we really need to be doing things in our whole lives, really. But if you're in your 30s and you haven't made, you know, healthy lifestyle changes yet, we need to start now so that we can, you know, slow or prevent, or sometimes I think even perhaps reverse progression of these lifestyle diseases. It's so crazy though, because all of these lifestyle diseases are just going up. And to me, the scariest ones are the cognitive ones, the Alzheimer's and dementia. The rates are like skyrocketing. And then I also read that they are far, far, far higher now and continuous, like the highest, the fastest growing group to get Alzheimer's and dementia is Blacks and Latinos. It's like, what? That is so crazy. But it's the lifestyle. It's just what we put into our bodies and expose ourselves to, and how we, you know, our stress levels and all these things. But it's very, in my opinion, it's very empowering to know that as profound as these things are in our lives, these are some of the only things we actually have control over, that we can actually really affect, because it's what we do, what we eat, how we, you know, are active, or we think, or breath work, like you said, just in, you know, to take a few deep breaths a day and be consciously aware that I'm taking a moment to take this deep breath or this sigh is huge, you know?
Yeah. And it takes no time to just like rein in your consciousness. And we all do it. We hold our breath if we're nervous, or we're not thinking it. We're just doing our daily task and really not thinking about our breath. And we're, you know, of course, grateful we have it there, but also just to kind of give it gratitude and just be aware of that. And it shifts so much in your body. Yes. And what you mentioned about the Alzheimer's is scary. And also what you mentioned, empowering. I love that word because it's so, like, we can shift our fear into empowerment if we think of it that way. What you just described, there's so much, you know, there are areas where you don't have the accessibility of healthy foods, and not everything's accessible, but like, what is accessible to you? What is doable? If it's movement and if you haven't had an exercise regimen, and if it's in your chair and doing some chair yoga, upper body, like, start there again, back to start where what's best for you and what's accessible to you. And if it's food, depending on where you live, like, what is accessible geographically, even different things grow. Do you have certain things that grow really well in your region? And can you maybe grow a few things? Or because there's the chemical thing too.
Oh my gosh. That's so scary.
Yeah. I mean, pesticide, you know, the question, you know, should you buy organic or not? And I mean, eating fruits and vegetables is hard enough for most, you know, 1 in 10 Americans eat enough fruits and vegetables a day. So it's very low. So just, you know, what is accessible to you again? And if it's conventional, yes. So yeah, wash them. If they're not organic, just wash them well, because pesticides, we know, do lead to poor health outcomes, from cancer to hormonal issues and some of these mental health issues. So again, the empowering thing, like choosing organic when you can, looking at like the environmental working groups, Dirty Dozen, maybe choosing at least those organic, which like berries and leafy greens, and look, they change them every year. and, growing your own food or buying locally, supporting, knowing your farmers. Like, I always ask, not everybody's expensive for farmers to get organic certified. That's a lot for a small farmer, and it's an expense and it's a lot of work, but also they can be no spray.
Right.
So sometimes I'll just say, do you spray? And they're like, no pesticide. And that's good. That's great. Like, totally. I understand that you don't have to go the whole gamut, but if you're in the store, if you can do organic, those types of things. So again, but going back to the accessibility and what's available to you, adding more plant-based foods to your plate is so empowering to know like what is accessible to you, and moving your body in whatever way you can. Again, that empowerment thing, like start where you are, and what feels good to you. Right.
I love that. I do think like a big challenge for a lot of people is though the fact that, like you said, only 1 in 10 people eat enough fruit in a day, right? The recommended amount. And by the way, back up, because I recently on my blog did a post about fiber, and I actually hired Alana, the dietitian that you recommended to me.
Oh yeah.
And she wrote it, and I was editing it before I posted it. And the recommended amount of fiber is like 35 grams a day of fiber, but like we know ancient and like hunter-gatherer people were getting like at least 100 grams a day. And then I'm like, looking at sources and just like reading all this stuff about fiber, and there's so much rhetoric around you need to get 35 grams a day, and yes, that's very difficult, but you can do X, Y, and Z to do it. But it's just like this rhetoric about it being difficult. But if you were eating whole grains, beans, fruit, berries, nuts and seeds, it actually seems like really easy. And if you don't have access to like high, like it's super expensive, but still high quality, if you don't have access to like organic stuff, we have Aldi, they have beans, they have rice, they have frozen food at Dollar General. Most of us have access to like what used to be considered poor people food, right? Like peasant food, which is beans and grains and like, dandelion greens and collard greens and stuff like that. Yeah. But those foods are so nutritious, and they are so high in fiber, and they're very accessible. And if you start to eat this way, you realize like, no, eating enough fiber is actually really easy. And one thing I wanted to ask you though, because we were just talking about fiber and the pesticides and chemicals in general, though, isn't it also true, just so that people aren't afraid, isn't it also true that these high fiber diets help to detox the chemicals that we are just exposed to every day through our food, the air?
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because yes, high fiber and the antioxidants in plants. So all of those beautiful colors that you see when you walk into the grocery store and the farmer's market, you see these vibrant, gorgeous colors. Those phytochemicals in the plants are giving them those colors, and those also help to kind of neutralize some of the chemicals that whether it's pesticides or plastics. So like, because when you think of ultra processed foods and convenience foods, they're all in plastic packaging, and we're getting there's so much exposure. And it just made me think of that when you mentioned Alzheimer's and the rates, and minimizing it just sounds like a lot, and I think it could be overwhelming sometimes. When you think about like, I have to eat healthy, I have to minimize packaging, it's like, when we talk about it, but I mean, it's just so key having just the awareness. Yeah. And when you go to purchase something, at least for me, like when I go into a grocery store, I'm like, do I want the lemon that's in that plastic bag, the bag of lemons, or just individual lemons? So like, you just become more, when you have that seed of knowledge, it feeds into everything, every activity you do. So you don't even have to take action. And like, once you learn about this, you just naturally start to gravitate to things that are going to be healthier for you. Yes. And minimizing that packaging is a huge part of it too. Yes. With the fiber, yes, high fiber, high antioxidant foods can help. And it's another reason why we want to add more plants to our plate. We had, I don't know if you remember, just recently, of course you remember, there was a big chemical explosion in Atlanta. Yes. Here. And our air quality was horrible. I mean, you couldn't walk out without like your eyes tearing, and it was so bad. who knows what was in the water.
Right.
Like, you just know that stuff was
It
spreading
was a
in our
chlorine
soil.
plant, right?
Yeah. So bad.
Oh my gosh.
And I have allergies. I always say like plant-based eating has helped every facet of my life except allergies. I cannot get rid of the allergies, but I do, just because knowing that those chemicals are so inflammatory and they can get into our body, and they're like in our eyes or on our skin, they get into our body. I was like, I am doubling my intake of berries. I'm doubling everything, because those foods fight inflammation, and they're going to help to, I didn't, obviously it's not like tested. I didn't test like, did the chemicals come out of my body? But, knowing the research that's there, that it can help. Just another reason to add more plant-based foods to your plate, because of our environments. It's hard to escape everything, but we do what we can.
Right.
And adding more plants just really helps to mitigate anything that we can't control.
That's so, okay. So it just makes me think about how, like we're saying, it can be really overwhelming, XYZ, trying to control all these things. It's impossible to control everything, but you can eat more plants. You can eat a high fiber diet. And then if you do those things, you are helping yourself in myriad ways to, combat a lot of the negative effects, right? However, it seems so simple to just like eat more plants and eat more fiber. However, people seem to really want something more complicated than that. So, because before, when you first got here, we were talking about how people seem to just want like a diet. They don't want like just eat more plants and like eat beans and lentils. That seems like, for a lot of people, especially like mainstream America, it's not sexy enough. They want keto. They want to have to like go fully gluten-free, for even if they're not celiac. They want to go super high fat diet, right? We're not eating seed oils, but we're doing, beef tallow, right? It seems like, why do we always have to make it so complicated? What is that? What is your theory?
That's a great question. Yeah, there's something about, I think, being told like this is what works,
like the magic pill situation.
Yes, like exactly like a magic pill. Like, this is the thing, and if your favorite influencer or somebody is doing it, then I'm gonna try it too. It worked for them, and again, going back to the individuality, like everybody is different. So what works for one person may not work. We know that adding more plant-based foods, because of the research, like, is good for everybody because of the fiber.
It's a human thing.
Yeah.
Like, we are humans.
It's getting back to nature, right? Earth, through the ground. And yes. And I think just having something to identify with, like, I am this, or I'm following this, or I am following that, it kind of gives, in my mind anyway, it seems like it gives people like footing and something to fall back on. It gives them like hope, and it's like a community too, right? Like, it builds these diets build a community of like-minded people, and you're all doing the same thing, and everyone's rallying behind this thing, so you feel like you're part of that crowd. And then people will, we were talking about this earlier, carnivore diet. If you're eating the standard American diet and it's ultra processed food, high in fat, a lot of refined carbohydrates, whole grains are wonderful, but like the refined carbohydrates in the ultra processed foods are inflammatory. If you cut all of that out and you're only eating meat, you're going to probably feel better. You're probably going to lose weight. You're going to naturally lower your calories, and the ultra processed foods going by the wayside. So you're going to feel better. But is that sustainable long-term, only eating meat or ultra high fat? Is that sustainable long-term, and is it even healthy long-term? There are studies showing that it's not for heart health and for gut health. We know that high saturated fat diets can disrupt gut health.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Saturated fat, it can, like, along with sugar and the ultra processed foods and stress, and they can, and gut health is all over the news and media, but it's true that, there's so much that can impact our gut, and it's really kind of it's where our health starts. Exactly. Is in the gut. It affects everything from our digestive system and throughout every single physiological function pretty much in our body. And brain health, you hear about the gut-brain axis. So feeding your gut microbes high fiber diet, because those microbes eat the fiber in the plants, and some of the phytonutrients are also act as fuel for the microbes. Our health starts in the gut, and that really kind of just fuels everything else. So we really want to foster good gut health. And I think by following some of these diets, or we know by following some of these diets, you're omitting so much fiber.
Right.
So what do their guts look like? You know, some of these diets really aren't gut friendly, and it's a big part of it, of our health.
But I do, so because like I said, that blog post about fiber, I do, because if fiber cannot be digested, it's an indigestible carbohydrate, right? So the human body cannot digest it like we would sugars and stuff. But the gut bacteria uses it as their food. That's a prebiotic, right?
Yes.
And they break down the fiber. Obviously, also the fiber is, the soluble, insoluble, the bulk and the broom. But how are you feeding the gut bacteria if you're eating a no or low fiber diet? I didn't really I know I thought about it like fiber's super good for you, but I didn't really think of it as a perspective of like a way of eating that is telling you like only eat meat, like don't eat fiber. That seems kind of crazy to me, because we know for a fact that you need to feed the gut bacteria.
And I wonder if what you just mentioned, if you change the language to don't eat any fruits or vegetables or fiber, like if that would change the enthusiasm around the diet.
Especially when your doctor is always telling you, eat more fiber.
Yes.
Right.
So important.
It's a language thing.
It is. And like you mentioned sexy earlier, that carnivore diet sounds sexier than the no fiber diet.
Yeah. It sounds like you're strong, you're a man, you're tough.
Yes.
Vegan sounds like, vegan, like you said, the community, certainly we have the community, it's this excitement around it, it's this purpose around it. And so, it's very, but, I think a lot of people think of, especially men, unfortunately, but think of vegan as weak and, you're not eating animals, you're not a man, that's so sad, but it is true. Like that's the connotation.
There is that. And there is, I don't know if you saw from the Physicians Committee of Responsible Medicine, PCRM, they just did a survey and found they wanted to know if people still believe that you can't get protein from plants. You can only get protein from meat. And I think it was either 85 or 86% of respondents said you can only get protein from meat. So there's still that.
That's huge.
And I'm like, gosh, we have a lot of education to do. Like, how is this still a thing? Because it feels, I guess, because when you're in the world of plant-based, like everyone knows you can get enough protein from like beans and tofu and tempeh, and all plants have protein.
Exactly.
Like you can do this, but I don't think this is still part of the mainstream conversation at all, and probably because of these diets that are so heavy on social media that they're probably getting the wrong information. And there is that identity that you mentioned, like the carnivore, like it sounds really strong. I mean, we mentioned this, we had a conversation about this earlier, but just to bring it up here, the whole labeling thing. I mentioned to you, I had a chocolate company. And when I met my husband, I was like, come out to do a demo with me, a chocolate demo. And people were coming up to the booth because I had chocolate on the table, and it was dark chocolate with healthy, whole plant-based foods, blueberries, walnuts, flax, foods that people know and love. And I would say, come try my vegan chocolate. And as soon people, would excitedly walk up to the table. And as soon as I said vegan, they'd stop. And they'd be like, I'm not vegan, but I know somebody who is. Or, I'm not. As soon as I said vegan, there was like this fear.
It's not for me.
Yeah, this is not for me. And I was like, well, I mean, it's just dark chocolate. It's dark chocolate with berries. Like, those things, right? If you like chocolate. And then at that point, I was backpedaling and trying to convince them to try this vegan product. They were like, no, I'm going to turn into a vegan. I can't. And my husband was there, and after I was done, he was like, you have to stop saying vegan. Don't say vegan.
It's not working.
Yeah, it's not working for your brand. So I did, and I put the writing really small on the box. And we mentioned earlier, like, vegans are going to find the products that are vegan.
We are.
Problem. But we want it to be inclusive. We want everybody to enjoy and whole plant-based foods. So back to the diet thing that you mentioned, whether you call it, that you've got the carnivore diet, you've got the keto diet, you've got a vegan diet, like, putting labels aside, just eat more plant-based foods. Just go to your farmer's market and like find something new that you haven't maybe tried before, and Google some plant-based recipes using okra or collard greens or something. And
Right.
you might find that you love something new, and that's going to help you to, because it can be overwhelming and people do it. I want to identify with something, but you don't have to.
Right.
You
don't have to.
one meal at a time. Try one plant-based meal a week. Get that one thing at the farmer's market or at the grocery store, and experiment with it in your kitchen, and look up a plant-based meal, or ask somebody for, your neighbor if they know, if they're into.
Go to a vegan restaurant, plant-based restaurant. Exactly. Or try your regular restaurant. Try something that is plant-based, because if you already know you love the restaurant,
yes,
try something new on the menu.
Exactly. Especially because, restaurants, chefs love creating things in unique ways, and they're going to make it super tasty.
Right. How come the vegan item, though, at non-vegan restaurants is usually... Now the vegan restaurants are stepping it up, but so often and for so long, the majority of the vegan restaurants, the food would be like replicas of non-vegan, like standard American food or sometimes Asian food. But then you go to a non-vegan restaurant and order like the special vegan market plate or whatever, and they do something fancy and it's delicious, and everybody else at the table is like, I wanted that. Why didn't I order that?
Exactly.
Like, well, this is so amazing, but I guess I know the answer. In my opinion, I think the answer is that, if it's a vegan restaurant, they're not going to stay in business only catering to the vegans, right? There's probably not that many who eat out enough that they could support multiple restaurants. So yes, you're trying to appeal to everybody, but that is great. That is great too. We love that.
I think I agree with you. I think because we want the non-vegans to be excited about it too. So if you say, a burger with bacon, but it's mushroom bacon, or, in a bean burger, you can leave out the mushroom and the beans. You say like burger, that's familiar to people who only eat meat. Yes. And they're like, okay, I'll try that. But recreating those familiar textures and flavors is so important. And we want everybody to try plant-based food and recognize it as plant-based, just plants that they're familiar with, just prepared in a different way. And but yeah, I think having a variety on the menu, and I feel like a lot of them are doing, I know you see the process, like, I don't really want a burgery burger. I want a bean burger, but like having a little bit of both. And I think we're seeing more restaurants do that, like the variety.
How long have you been vegan now?
I went vegan in 2013.
Okay.
So 12 years.
Yeah.
How about you?
2011.
Okay.
So right before you.
Yeah.
But I remember, when I became vegan, I worked at a vegan restaurant, and that was basically my journey. And I lived in New York at the time. So we had, I
was going to say vegan where in 2011, because it wasn't as much there. But
not as much. Sense. But yeah, New York, we had a handful, and they were all really good. Like, I think they were all really, really good. And so I worked at Peace Food Cafe, and I was so spoiled, though, because they had the best baked goods. All the food was delicious, and I worked there. But when I left, like New York City, when I'd come back home, here we always had a few vegan restaurants, like on the south side, right? But I didn't live down there. I grew up in Alpharetta and Gwinnett, so I'd go back home up north, and it's nothing. Chipotle, and I don't even know if we had Chipotle back then up there, like where my mom lives. There was just so few options. And then nowadays, like, you started getting more options, and some of them would be like not creative, or it'd be like the counter service type of thing, or just like, takeout type vegan food. And then now the progression continues, and we're starting to get more fine dining vegan restaurants. Here in Atlanta, New York has always had it all, in Los Angeles as well. But here in Atlanta, we're starting to get more of the fine dining, which I don't eat out a lot. And I think because I so, rarely eat out, I want more of a fine dining experience, because I'm only going to go out like maybe 4 times a year. So let's make it pretty fancy. Yeah, it's special. Like I don't want to feel, when I go to a restaurant, I don't want to feel like, oh, I could have just made this at home, Right. I want to have the whole experience and get a cocktail and, have like the mood, the whole vibe.
Right, the atmosphere.
The atmosphere.
Yeah. All of it.
Exactly. It's got to be all of it for me. For me, vegan living, I call myself a vegan because this is part of my identity. Like, I hate to say something's part of my identity, but it is. It's like with yoga. Yoga is part of my identity, right? It's a lifestyle to me. It's a spiritual practice to me. It's a purpose to me. It's beyond like the physical movement. It's the breath work and it's the spirituality. It's everything to me. So for the people like me and like you who, we're already feeling really confident about our diets and everything we're eating, and how maybe we want to take it to the next level, add more supplements. I know you're super interested in adaptogens and mushrooms. So I'd love to hear about that, because I'm super interested in it too.
Yeah, they're fascinating. Yeah. I always recommend like a whole food first approach. So for folks who feel like they've got it going, like they've got it down, the healthy diet, whole food, plant-based eating, amazing. Always reaching, like when you're thinking of nutrients, thinking of the whole foods that contain those nutrients, because you're getting a whole package of nutrients in that whole food. So for example, if you're trying to up your calcium intake and you want to add more kale to your plate, you're getting lots of kale. You're getting lots of calcium in that kale, but you're also getting carotenoids, you're getting plenty of fiber, you're getting so many nutrients that are in that kale that are beneficial. So always taking a whole foods approach, and then filling in some of the gaps with supplements where you feel like you may not be able to get them through whole foods. So some common recommendations, usually with like an all vegan or plant-based diet that I recommend, B12 is one of them. It can be difficult getting on a plant-based diet. And this is not to say like, I feel like, this is an argument.
I know what you mean.
See, a vegan diet is inadequate, but no, there's no fiber in the omnivore diet or the carnivore diet. So, we have that other side too. But, there was a time where we could get B12 from plants. It's just that we don't have it in our soils now. We don't have it available. So taking a B12 supplement, we do when you take fish out of your diet, getting rid of you're omitting the omega-3, so taking an omega-3 supplement, really important for brain health, we talked about earlier, and Alzheimer's. And
is iodine important when you take out sea animals?
Yes, so same thing. And dairy, iodine is in dairy because they clean the cows with iodine, like an iodine solution.
Oh, right, because it's a disinfectant.
So there's that, and then also through like fish, certain fish will contain iodine. So when you remove dairy and fish from your diet, making sure you're getting an iodine source. So there are 3 primary ways to get iodine. You can consume sea vegetables. So if you have and like a gomasio mix, like a seasoning or something that you add to your dishes, that can be an easy way to add some iodine. You just don't know how much you're adding. That's the thing. This kind of varies depending on the product. For a more certain way to get enough iodine, what I do is add iodized salt. So if you do add any salt in cooking, use iodized. That way you can kind of check that one off the list. You're getting some iodine. You can get it through if you're adding salt, a half a teaspoon daily in your cooking throughout each of your meals, you should be fine. And then also, if you take a multivitamin, a lot of multivitamins do contain the recommended amount for iodine. So there's those 3 ways to get iodine. And then, and I want to mention one thing about the omega-3s is that it's not just a vegan thing. It is many omnivores. Most people are not getting enough of the type of omega-3s. This is a whole nother conversation, so I won't get too much into this, but you can get omega-3s, a certain type linolenic acid, through flax meal, and chia seeds and walnuts are great sources of omega-3s and many other nutrients, but they're not the type of omega-3 that is most important for our brain. The DHA and the
EPA?
Yes.
Okay, because it reminds me, EPA, like the Environmental Protection Agency. Got it.
Go with it, right? Exactly. That's a good way to remember. So we want to take those as a supplement just to make sure that we don't get behind the 8 ball on that. But again, that's like everyone should probably have their omega-3 index checked, their blood level, and just to see where you are to make sure you are getting enough. And you can supplement if an algae-based source supplement, I should say. You don't have to do fish.
Right. That's what I take, the algae base. And they always say eat from the lowest of the food chain.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about heavy metal contamination.
Yes. And it's sustainable. Like the way that they grow it is sustainable. So it is an excellent source for the environment. It's obviously better for the fish if you're not getting it from the fish. So an algae-based supplement. And the last one is just a vitamin D. So also knowing your vitamin D levels, which can be a standard lab check on your annual doctor's visit. You can ask them to check your vitamin D. And again, that is not just like a vegan issue.
Right.
It's like everybody should have their, depending on where you live and how often you get outdoors. That's the best way to get vitamin D is through some sunshine, but during the winter it can be hard. So yeah, those are the three biggies. I mean, iodine you mentioned too, but the B12, omega-3, and vitamin D. So whole foods first approach, multivitamins are essential and minerals are essential. And then the mushrooms. That was like a long-winded answer to get to your mushrooms.
But that was a good way to get to it because we don't want people to be like, so it's so often to just want to like buy a product and you're not even, you can still be eating like McDonald's, but you want to buy sea moss. You know what I mean? Like you need to stop at McDonald's first.
Yeah.
So like exactly. Get the foundation, like you use that term. Foundation down first before you add other stuff.
Yes. It's so funny to that point. My dad, I love him so much. And he is like, he doesn't want to change his diet, but he also will add some of those supplements. And he's like, Instagram showed me this ad on this Rise mushroom, so I got it, and now I'm taking it. And what do you think? I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm glad you're thinking about health and getting something healthier. But like, how about we swap out that pork sandwich for something,
high fiber.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's good that it's planting their getting the seeds planted, but also yes, the diet, the foundation is important. So mushrooms are, these adaptogens can be wonderful in kind of like it's almost like I consider them not like a multivitamin because they're not essential, but they are kind of like just to elevate health, whatever that particular thing is that you want to elevate. So for me personally, I like to have something that helps keep me focused because I have tendencies for ADHD and they really do help, like lion's mane. And I'll do like a mushroom coffee in the morning. I'm like, why not just add some, healthy mushrooms? And we know that mushrooms have other health effects too for the immune system and for our gut health and just so much anti-cancer benefits. So adding some adaptogens, and it takes your body time to get used to them. So it's not like a pill where, or a pharmaceutical where you take something and the pain's gone the next day. It takes your body time to adapt to, like they work with your body and help your body to adapt to stressors of everyday life. And I really feel like they can enhance your well-being even more on top of a healthy whole food plant-based diet, and you're getting the essentials that you need, the essential vitamins and minerals. And then if you want to add a little bit more, you can. And there are different mushrooms for different things. So if it is the immune system, there are some that work more on the immune system or have like the research, I should say, support the immune enhancing benefits. Yes.
So just for people who are not familiar, what exactly is an adaptogen?
Adaptogen, I'm not going to get the exact definition like right here, but your body, they basically help your body adapt to stressors, like a eustressor. So they help your body adapt in times when it experiences stress. So it could be physical stress, it could be the environmental stress, it could be something that you eat. And something like, for example, ashwagandha. Right. Which is a very popular one especially with like, anti-anxiety and keeping you calm. You'll notice again, it's not an overnight, you don't take it and you're like, I feel calm. They have a very subtle effect on the body, and you'll notice the next time that there may be a stress that you encounter that maybe gets your anxiety going. And after taking ashwagandha for a while, you may encounter that same stressor, and you might notice that your reaction's a little bit different. I see. You are approaching it from like a more centered state versus a reactive state. So it helps your body adapt to these stressors in a way that is very subtle, but it's really super impactful in your quality of life.
Right. And that's one of those holistic. I always like to with everything in life, try to get to the holistic root of the issue, right?
Yes.
And it's like adaptogens really help to change. I mean, it's not going to like take all the stress out of your life if so and so is stressing you out,
right?
But
They're not
help
going to
your
go away.
body.
They're still going to be
right,
there.
They're still going to be there.
Yeah.
But you still got to you probably got to work on that too. That's
Right.
a spiritual thing. But they help your body like without just changing the symptom. It's helping your body, like you said, adapt to the input, right? Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
adapt to what that thing is that is affecting you. You just react differently.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, but yes, working off also on the root of the issue.
Yeah.
But, so the stressors are going to be there. It's going to be the same, but you will just react differently. And it feels that you're coming from like a more peaceful, grounded state, which affects your cortisol levels and your body's physiological response in turn helps with everything we talked about here today.
Right.
Your mood, your well-being, your gut health. Like it is so all interconnected. So these adaptogens can just help in particular areas of your life that you feel need like a little bit of a boost.
Okay.
So I like them for that. I mean, there is the cost factor. I think twice before like seeing them on the shelves. I'm like, oh, I want all of them. You know, just like being very selective and seeing what works for you. Again, going back to the individuality. What works for me may not work for somebody else. And there's research to support a lot of them, and it's kind of emerging now. But there's so many blends out there. So just kind of like doing your own research and homework and seeing, like you mentioned, getting to the root of it. What does research support for this particular adaptogen? And is this what I'm looking for?
Right.
So being selective in that process, and adding it to a routine that's already has like a good solid foundation.
I was just going to say that. And remember, guys, solid foundation.
Yeah.
I was literally because it's part of our American culture to want to buy. You know, you go to Whole Foods and they've got, you know, you go to the vitamin section and they've got all this stuff and the packaging looks so good. I just want to buy it. Like I've heard it's good for me. I just want to spend $50. But you haven't gotten your foundation down yet. So work on that first, primarily, right? And then start to add the fun stuff. I remember back in the day when I first became vegan, I was so excited. And I became like regular vegan first. And then I decided to do a raw thing. Me and my friends went raw for 30 days. It was fun. Let's do something fun. And it was so challenging. And then I also did like a couple, I think I've done only 2 in my life, juice fasts. We'll never do that again. But it's like, you know, this approach, sometimes when you're doing something new, you want to try like, it's like fun. I want to try it like this. I want to try it like that. It's like going to the ice cream shop and trying every single flavor. And then you end up on just vanilla, right? But, you know, make sure you have the foundation set first and then you can try all the different flavors. Because I think a lot of times, like, you know, with veganism, people think of it as being very expensive because they jump straight into I'm buying my lion's mane mushrooms and I'm buying, you know, ashwagandha. And they haven't even started buying the like whole grains and beans and stuff, right?
It definitely gets a bad reputation, I think, because of that.
Yeah.
There are so many plant-based foods that are like superfood powders. And,
right.
I mean, yeah, they're expensive.
Goji berries.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
I know,
$20 a pound.
They're so great. They're not grown. They're not grown here in Georgia, so they're not going to be.
Right.
Right. They're like.
And I don't buy them anymore either. I was like, you know what? I feel great without them too.
Yeah. Right. Eat berries, lots of them, and get them your purple foods in other ways. I think that is a myth, another myth, like the protein myth, that you can't get enough protein because it's too expensive. But it's really not when you're sticking to whole beans and whole grains and produce. I mean, right now everything's kind of gone up, but at the same time, buying locally and in season can help. So kind of using tips and tricks to navigate the pricing, but it's much more cost effective to live in a healthful way versus getting sick later and having to pay that price.
That part. And even like, you know, I seldom get sick where I'm like, it actually affects my life. Like sometimes I'll, you know, get a little cold. I pick up from my daughter, but I'm not actually going to like be out of work for a week, right? Or months on end. And that is increasingly happening more to young people, right? Mm-hmm. So it is very like your health is an investment now and in the future. So eating well, doing the right things, it's really going to pay off for the rest of your life. Hopefully you don't like get hit by a bus or something, but it's one of the only things, like I always keep coming back to this. There's so few things in life that we actually have control over, and deciding what we put into our bodies and how we spend our time is really the only thing. Yeah. So do that. Like, you don't need to worry about the other things that you don't have any control over. It doesn't really matter. But what you can control is at your fingertips. So start there.
Yeah. And it feels so good to know that you do have the power to make decisions. You do have the power to say, what I'm going to put into my body today is going to feed my body really well and make me feel so good. It's going to just light you up. You're going to radiate because of the choices that you make. And you do have that choice.
Yes, that snowballs.
Yeah. And that becomes the motivation to continue eating too, because you feel better and you notice the everyday things I mentioned, getting better sleep. You might notice that your skin is improving, your digestion is improving. Like, once those things start to kick in pretty immediately, that's your motivation to keep going. You want to keep doing the things. So it's so important. And one last thing, not to go back, but about the adaptogens and supplements and mushroom powders, I did want to mention that it's so important to know your brand. And check the label, make sure that brands are getting third-party testing, because we had this conversation about, supplements and adaptogens, because there are so many brands out there, there can be like mock anything and fillers and products. So always look to see that the brand that you're purchasing, whether it's supplement or adaptogens, they're getting third-party tested so that what is written on the label is what is in that package. And you're not getting any fillers, you're not getting any heavy metals, or at least minimal. They can be kind of ubiquitous, but at least minimal. So that you're obviously getting what you're paying for, and it's indeed healthy for you.
Because you're gonna pay. Yeah. So, are there any specific brands that you would recommend?
There are a few. There's a mushroom powder. There's one that I just bought actually that I love. It's called Dirt Tea, I think. Yeah, Dirt Tea, but the tea is TEA.
Oh, so it's a tea.
It's a coffee, but it looks like dirty. It looks like dirt when you pour it out.
And you love it.
I do like it. You know why? Because I was buying, so this is like my own, I always called it witch's brew. So being in the perimenopausal phase, I do maca.
Oh yeah,
love maca.
Great for hormones.
Yes, good for her. And I've been doing it for a while, and I don't know, like, if it's the soy and the maca, or just the soy, or just
right.
I feel, knock on wood, I'm gonna start like with symptoms tomorrow. But yeah, I feel okay. So I do maca root, but I was purchasing I like matcha in the morning. Coffee I love, but it just makes me, gives me like really heightened anxiety. So I might do a little bit in the morning, but mostly I do matcha with soy milk, and I'll add maca powder. And again, the lion's mane really, I found, helps me a lot with focus. So I started doing lion's mane. I'm trying to like minimize what I'm doing. So I'm like, I need to figure out, simplify this. And a little bit of spirulina.
Oh, I love spirulina.
It's so good. It's just like the color of it, and the minerals in it. It's so good for you, and just a little bit. Yeah. How do you use it?
Well, I haven't been using it. One of my favorite things about living in California was the farmers markets. And the entire time we lived there, I bought fresh spirulina at the farmers market.
Oh, wow.
And ever since we left, which has been almost 4 years now, I do not use spirulina anymore, because I was so spoiled. But I do realize I can buy it frozen and have it shipped here. So I think I should start doing that. I'm like, right now I'm trying to get into sprouting. So that's my next little thing right now.
That's fun.
But spirulina, I used to do that also back in the past. But spirulina is another one I want to get back to. But I usually would just add it to smoothies. And when my daughter was a baby, I would put it in her smoothies. And I feel like she eats really healthy now. But I feel like when we lived in California, because of the farmers markets and super easy access to like fresh stuff like that, she ate even better. And I'm trying to reverse that right now. I'm trying to start a garden, do sprouts. We're going to get some spirulina, go back to that life.
Yeah. Yep. I get that. I know when you're in the environment, it definitely makes it more conducive. Yeah.
So much cheaper than having it shipped across the country. Also.
Yes, that too.
Yeah,
right, when it's in your backyard. Yeah. Yeah. yeah, we were just in California for a little bit too, and I was like, I've never eaten so many like those little nectarines, and like they're on every tree. It makes it so easy. But then buying them at the grocery store here, I haven't had one since I've been back. I'm like, there really is something about accessibility and having things like that in your backyard. It really, and then that sparks you to make healthier choices all day long. You know, it's crazy. But I will say, just real quick, back to the dirt tea, because if anyone's listening, they want to know what's in this dirt tea. It has everything that I was taking, so I only have to buy one thing now. So it's like maca, tremella mushroom, lion's mane. It does have a little bit of, it's coffee. It's like ground coffee. And I had one other thing. I think it may have like cordyceps, another mushroom that wasn't like. Cordyceps. But yeah, so it had everything. So I don't know, and they have different blends. And they seem like a great brand. Yeah, but there's lots of them. There's I know. Yeah, there's a bunch. There are definitely some good brands that are like organic and like third party testing. Rasa is another one. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So tell us about you telling me you have a program. We've been talking a lot about food, but also mindset. And so tell me about that program that you are getting going, because I want people to be able to follow you and, you know, take advantage of everything you have to offer.
Thank you. Yeah. So food is definitely a foundation. How I work with clients and in my online programs and really anything that I do. But there's so much more, as we've been talking about in our conversation today. There is breath work, there is getting out in nature, you know, stress management. There's so much. So when I work with clients, I look at everything. Of course, we start with diet, but also what else may be contributing to GI distress? Could it be the stress? Could it be your sleep? So we look at so many different facets of their life, and I'll try to add like just simple things that they can do every day, because it can all be so overwhelming, as we were saying earlier. I don't do a complete diet over, like you mentioned diet earlier, and I get so often, you just give me a diet, tell me exactly what to eat. I'm like, I can't do that, because I know I've done this before. I've listened to that request, and you'll come back to me like, I can't do it. Right. Like this diet, because what I'm eating or what I might recommend might not be what you like. Yeah, so we need to like do I work in small steps with food, and then also in daily lifestyle habits. On that, like through what I've noticed and just you learn so much meeting one-on-one with people through lifestyles, and what like some of those common denominators are where people could maybe enhance some of those lifestyle habits. And one thing that feels like a recurring pattern are morning habits, and how difficult it is for people to adopt. And it's hard. Like if you have a family and you've got kids and the dog and like it can be hard to carve in that time. Right? It's like hard.
So hard.
So
so you're helping people
like a healthy routine with very little effort is the goal of this program that I just started. I launched it for the first time in January, and we had like our first cohort. It's called the 21-day. It's a mood and mind reset. I'm going to do it again in the spring. So we're in the spring now, but in May, we'll launch it again. And it's 21 days. So the first 7 days, we're setting a healthy morning routine. And it literally is less than a minute for each habit, and you just build upon them. So just to give you an example, day one, I'm going to spoiler alert, drink 2 glasses of water in the morning when you get up. It's that like we're all drinking water at some point throughout the day, but like, are we all drinking 2 glasses? I remind myself as I was writing this, I was like, oh yeah, I need to drink 2 glasses of water. I need to follow this. They're things you probably already know, but maybe you need a reminder, maybe want the accountability, but they're designed to be simple and just to kind of instill these healthy habits. So the first 7 days, that's a morning routine. Second set of 7 days, that's the afternoon routine. Something as simple as like taking a deep sigh. One time, like a couple times, one time, a couple times. So just bringing that awareness to some of these tips. And then the last 7 days, building healthy sleep routine. So just getting ready to wind down for the night, and all of this kind of feeds in. So there's nothing food related in this course, but they're just simple daily habits that most of them take less than a minute. And they're meant to just kind of build that foundation. And then my goal, which I'm working on now, is to release the 21-day habits the food version, so that we're going to add start to increase our fiber intake, and it's going to also be tailored to enhance mood and clear your mind. So just kind of like foods that will ground you.
I love that.
Yeah. So it goes
cool.
with what you're doing too, like yoga, mindset, breath work, and all the food. And it just helps to kind of get you into a place where you just feel like you're going through life a little bit more smoothly, because life is going to keep happening around you, but it's all about like your state of being while it is all happening around you. And it's to prepare you to really handle everyday stressors and life with ease.
That's beautiful. And so how do people sign up? How can people follow you if they want to get in touch or with you one-on-one?
Yeah.
All the deets, please.
All the details. So my website is purelyplanted.com. The course is on the website, and I'm going to open it up here soon. So you can sign up for the newsletter. When you go to the website, you'll see the area to sign up for the newsletter. And then Instagram is always confusing because my Instagram was hacked a couple years ago. I had to start over. So Purely Planted is never going to be available again, apparently. So it's purely _planted is Instagram. That's where I'm most active, but also on LinkedIn, and I'm trying to be better at YouTube. I need to keep watching you for inspiration.
Yes, YouTube is great.
I love YouTube, but it's
it's hard,
but it's great. And it's fun to create when you do. It's just having that consistency. But
it's a great way to connect with people. That's why I do it for so long, you know? It's like I find it's the best connection, better than social, because social is so fast. You're scrolling, right? And it's not intended for you to stay like on one person's content for long. YouTube is the opposite. Long form is best on YouTube, you know? Yeah. So
that's great. That's good to hear. That's inspiring, because, you know, my motivation is really to build community. Yes. And I'm doing this for people and also for the planet, like the whole, you know, for people, the planet, the animals. And I love that sense of community so much. And I do feel like Instagram is lacking there. I encourage people to sign up for my newsletter, because I feel like that's the most personal touch. And, you know, people will respond back and be like, I made this, or hey, hi, you know, I just want to drop in and say hi. And I love that. Yeah. It feels so good to know that like you're just connected. So it's good to hear that kind of community feel is what YouTube brings.
For sure. And then we have like, I'll help you with anything you need when, you know, to stay consistent. Accountability if you need it.
Yes, I think
you should do it. Okay, good. Well, thank you. This was so fun.
It was so fun. Thank you for
having me. I have so many more questions though.
Oh, me? Yeah, well.
Yeah, we have to do this again.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was
so fun.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.